Hi, I want to share with you some books about Louisa May Alcott and Little Women that I've been thinking about and interested in lately because the Duxbury Senior Center is having a Little Women themed program on Thursday, June 25th. So I've been interested in learning more about Louisa May Alcott, and two biographies that were written about her and each of her parents are good places to start. This one is called Eden's Outcasts, the story of Louisa May Alcott and her father by John Madison. And this one is called Marmee and Louisa, the story of Louisa May Alcott and her mother by Eve LaPlante. And Louisa May Alcott's parents were activists, they were progressive, they were anti-abolition, they were educators, they were vegans, they were transcendentalists, they ran in really literary circles of the time around Concord, and they really shaped who the person Louisa was, and because they're the inspiration for Mr. and Mrs. March in the story, you can kind of see how they influence the characters of Marmee and Mr. March. And speaking of Mr. March, if you're the kind of person who likes books, fiction books that take a character and from a beloved story and gives them a new spin, you might want to try March by Geraldine Brooks. This one's the story of Mr. March and what his childhood and young adulthood was like before he got married, and also what his experiences were in the Civil War when he's not actually in the story of Little Women because he's away. And then two other nonfiction books that I've enjoyed and came to my mind when I watched the newest version of the movie were Meg, Jo, Beth, and Amy, The Story of Little Women and Why It Still Matters by Amy Boyd Ryu, and The March Sisters on Life, Death, and Little Women, which is a book of 4 essays, one each about one of the sisters. So one essay about Meg, one essay about Jo, one essay about Beth, and one essay about Amy by 4 different authors. And this came to my mind when I watched the movie because a lot of feedback I read was about how sympathetic the portrayal of Amy was in this movie. And the essay about Amy in this book is really pointing out what an interesting person she is because she's an artist just like Jo, but has a very different relationship to art and her family and money. And Meg, Jo, Beth, and Amy starts during Louisa May Alcott's lifetime and has a bit of a background, and then talks about the book and how the book has been received ever since it was first published. And it's not exactly literary criticism, I would call it more of a sociological study of how people reacted to the book and how those reactions have changed in the 150 years since its publication. And it's just interesting if you like to find out how a book fits into the wider world. And finally, there's a book that has been a big inspiration for this program at the Senior Center, and that's Little Women, the official movie companion for the most recent version directed by Greta Gerwig. And it's got lots of beautiful pictures, close-ups of the beautiful props, beautiful costumes, beautiful food, beautiful sets, beautiful actors. And one thing I wanted to share in particular is that part of the book actually is recipes. And some of these recipes will even be available in local Duxbury places. So the peppermint ice cream will be available very briefly at Farfar's. And sugar and cinnamon apple bread will be available very briefly at the Duxbury Foodsmith. But if you buy the book through the program, which you can do, or check it out at the library, you can make those recipes at home. It even has pickled limes, which I don't know if I'm brave enough to try. I've always been interested since reading the book, but I don't know if I actually would want to eat one in school like Amy does. So those are some books about Little Women and Louisa May Alcott that I've enjoyed. If there's any that you've also enjoyed, I'd love to hear about it. Let us know at the Duxbury Free Library. Bye.